Okay, so I think we'll start, and you can just make yourself comfortable. Whatever way you prefer to lie is perfect. So if you want to keep the knees bent, that's absolutely fine. It just helps the lower back to relax a little bit more. And if you at any point feel like stretching out the legs, you can do that also. And then close down the eyes and take a moment to let go of everything that's been going on today. Start to tune inwards. Noticing your body in this moment, your body against the floor. That deep connection between your body and the earth. And as you start to let go, imagine your body becoming heavy, that sinking down sensation. Your body sinking down into the earth. And let your awareness rest with your breath. And to begin becoming aware of your natural breath and how your breath moves in and out of your body. So without changing the breath, really, you're just watching it come in, watching it flow out. Watching the movement that the breath brings. Notice as you breathe in, the belly and the chest expanding outwards. As you breathe out, the belly and the chest softening downwards. So there's a lifting and a lowering of the belly and the chest with each breath. It doesn't matter how big that movement is. Sometimes you might notice the reverse of that happening. Sometimes as you breathe in, everything contracts inwards. And if that's happening, you're gently encouraging a reversal. You're encouraging the expansion on the in-breath, the softening on the out-breath. Just noticing what happens. And then starting to notice the sides of your body moving with the breath. The sides of the body expanding outwards on the in-breath and softening inwards as you breathe out. That gentle movement of the side ribs with each breath. And then finally, the back of the body expanding, the back of the ribs, pressing down towards the mat as you breathe in, and softening away from the mat as you breathe out. So you're noticing the 3 dimensions of the breath, the entire upper body expanding outwards on the in-breath and softening back and down on the out-breath. And then we'll work to keep that awareness of the breath and keep a nice steady breath as you move into the asana, the physical practice. And if you find that following my breath cues is too much, you can breathe at your own pace. And the big thing that you're working towards is continuing to breathe through the practice. So as long as you're not holding the breath, that's the big part. And then if you can follow my breath cues, great, but don't worry if you can't. So let's open up the eyes. And bring the gaze back to the light. When you're ready, you can ease onto your side and come all the way back up to sit. And then you can pop your cushion or your blanket in underneath you to sit on. And we'll sit. If you're comfortable with the legs crossed, you can do that. Get yourself sitting up nice and tall. And then when you're ready, start to make circles with the head, a full circle. So you're breathing in as the head rolls back. And you're breathing out as the chin comes down towards the chest. Noticing how that feels in the back of the neck. So any sensation in the back of the neck, any stretching, releasing, any tight spots, anything like that. And the next time that you lift the head up, you can roll the head back in the opposite direction. Reverse your circles. And again, make it nice and slow. Keep the shoulders relaxed. Moving with the breath. Exhaling as the chin lowers. Inhaling as you lift the head back up. Noticing how it feels, any sensation as you move. And then the next time that you come all the way to the top, we'll sit up nice and tall again, lengthen up through the spine. On an out breath, turn your head like you're looking over towards the right. And take a couple of breaths here. So you're stretching into the left side of the neck. And with your next in-breath, the head comes into center. And as you breathe out, look over to the left. And again, taking a few breaths. Noticing the right side of the neck. How does that feel? When you're ready, that head can come back into center. We'll take the fingertips up onto the shoulders, elbows in line with the shoulder there. And as you inhale, lift your elbows up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, bring them back to shoulder height. So you're inhaling as you lift, and you're exhaling as you release. Good. Keep going with your breath. So we're working to bring a little bit more movement into the shoulders. Notice that sensation up through the top of the back. And then the next time that you go up, circle around, a big circle. And imagine you're trying to tip the elbows together as they circle past. Then you could combine the breath, inhale as you open up the elbows and exhale as they come together. That might be a step too far. We'll see. And then as the elbows come together, go back the opposite way. So you're going to breathe in as you open them up and exhale as they come together. And again, just noticing how that feels in the shoulders, in around the shoulder blades, top of the back. And when you're ready, let's take the hands down. Fingertips can come to the floor. Uncross the legs, give them a little shake out. And then you can circle the ankles, big circles. Loosen out into the ankle joint. And take it back the opposite way. Again, big circles there. And all the way back into center. Then the knee, soles of the feet to the floor, and take the knees from side to side. So you're loosening out into the hips. That's it. So let's come back to center. Cross the legs again. And get yourself sitting up tall. And then this time, sweep the right arm up and over the side of the head. And as you do, slide the left hand out a little so that you can lean over to the left. And then see, could you turn your head like you're looking out towards the right side of your room? Breathing into the right side waist. When you're ready to come up, it's an in-breath. Lift back up. And then as you breathe out, lean over to the right. So the left arm is coming up and over. And again, that right hand can slide out a little bit more if you need more space. Turn your gaze, look out to the left. Stretching through the left side body, breathing into the side waist, side ribs. And when you're ready, coming right back up. And slowly release. Stretch the legs out wide. We'll take right hand in front and the left hand behind, and you're twisting to the left. Turning your torso towards the left side of the room, turning your gaze to look back over the left shoulder. And then Breathing into that twist. And let that breath be nice and soft. When you're ready, come back into center and twist to the other side. Left hand is going to go in front, right hand behind. Start to rotate towards the right, look back over the right shoulder. A nice steady breath in the twist. And with an in-breath, coming right back into center. Sliding the legs in, we'll come onto hands and knees. So feel free to put your props out of the way. Come to tabletop. And you're spreading out the fingers nice and wide, grounding the palms down into the floor to engage Hatha-style. Hatha-style is the hand lock. It's that connection between your hand and the earth. And as you breathe out, start to round your spine up towards the ceiling. Hollow the belly as you do it. Draw the belly in and tuck the chin in towards the chest. As you breathe in, start to let the belly dip down. The tailbone lifts and your gaze is forward, so the head comes up. With the out breath, start with the tailbone, curl it under and round up through the back. Pressing the palms into the floor, engaging Hatha-style. That helps to dome the top of the back a little bit more. As you inhale, let the belly lower. Lifting the tailbone, lifting the head to look forward. We'll take that one more time in each direction. Exhale as you round, slowly up through the spine. And breathe in as you start to release the spine in the opposite direction, letting the belly release down. And come to a neutral spine. Take your knees slightly wider apart for Balasana, child's pose. Your hips are going back towards your heels. The hands slide forward. And it doesn't matter if the hips don't go all the way back to the heels. There could be a gap there. Depends on how your hips and your knees are feeling today. But once you come into the pose, see, can you let your forehead rest on the floor? If it doesn't come all the way to the floor, you can put a cushion or something in to fill that space. And then you're letting your upper body sink down. And as you do, you're stretching the back body along the length of the spine, all of the bigger muscles in the back, top of the back, lower back, right into the back of the hips. Now when you're ready, you can come forward into tabletop again. So we'll bring the knees back in line with the hips, walk the hands a little bit further forward and come slowly down to lie on the belly. So the hips come forward and you ease your way all the way down. Give yourself a little bit of space with the hands. So I like to go slightly further forward, a little bit wider apart, just so you have a little bit more room. And Cobra pose, Bhujangasana is the Sanskrit. Cobra pose, the hips stay down. So from the front of the foot up to the hip is grounding down. Thighs are down, knees stay down. Tummy muscles draw inwards. Your elbows always stay bent in Cobra. So even if you're in a very deep Cobra, the elbows are still bent. The shoulders stay relaxed. So with your in-breath, you start to lift the chest. Slowly come up. Think about hugging the elbows in and then breathing in the pose, a slow breath in the pose. The elbows stay bent, they stay in by the side so they're not winging out. The palms are still grounding, so you still get Hatha-style engaged. And if you can imagine trying to stretch open the chest, spread apart the collarbones, that idea of opening up the front body. As you hold the pose, the muscles in your back are working. All the stabilizing muscles along the length of the spine are working to hold you in the pose. And with your next out breath, you're coming down slowly, bending the elbow, releasing the chest back down. And then you can rest one hand on top of the other, let your forehead come down. And from there, bend your knees, take your feet into the air, and let them sway from right to left, just to release out through the lower back there. Coming back into center, release the legs, bring your hands back onto the mat, and come into tabletop. And from tabletop, the toes tuck under, and we're coming up into down dog. So get Hatha-style engaged, the hand lock, the palms grounding down. And if you can imagine, all the outer edges of the hand and the fingers are grounding. And there's a slight suction right at the center of the palm. And it's drawing the energy up through the arms. And you start to send your hips up and back. Press down into the heels a little, so you get that stretch through the back of the legs. Good. And see, can you bring your chest more towards your thighs, so you get into the shoulders there a little bit more. Imagine you're pressing your chest back in the direction of the legs. And then when you're ready, lower back down. Take your time, knees to the floor. Take them a little bit wider apart so you have space for your child's pose, toes towards each other. And then sit back into Balasana. And use it as a moment of rest now. So not as much focus on stretching over the back body. You could let the elbow soften, little bend in the elbow, relax into the shoulders. The breath is nice and quiet. Good. Take your time. Come forward to tabletop. Bring your knees in line with your hips. Ground down into the palms. Tuck the toes. Take your knees off the floor into downward facing dog. Adho Mukha Svanasana. It's the Sanskrit name. Downward dog. And then you walk your hands and your feet towards each other until you come into a forward fold. So we want the hands on the floor, like fingertips, palms, doesn't matter, whatever connects with the floor is perfect. The knees can bend as much as you need to have the hands on the floor. And then you're focusing always on spinal length first before the legs. So imagine letting your spine release, letting your head hang, unraveling all the way from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And then from there, pressing the soles of the feet into the floor and lengthening up from the heels up towards the hips. And just notice where the weight is in the feet. If you're leaning into the heels, shift the weight forward a little. And then to come up to stand, take a small bend in the knee, tuck the chin into the chest, and with an in-breath, you're rolling your spine up, slowly coming up to stand. Rolling the shoulders back and down, and standing nice and tall. So we're coming into chair pose. And so with chair pose, depending on the tradition or the teacher, the way that they practice, you'll sometimes hear feet hip distance apart, and you'll sometimes hear feet together. It actually doesn't really matter, but one will feel more comfortable than the other. So usually if you've narrow hips, then the feet together feels a little steadier. You can play and try both if you like, or you already know which you prefer. With the feet apart, you want to be aware of where your thighs are in space. So as you come into your chair, so you're going to start to bend the knees and send the hips back, like you're finding that seat that's out of reach. Just watch that the knees don't start to knock in, right? That's the thing we need to be aware of when the legs are apart. When feet are together, it doesn't matter. It's not, they're together. It's not going to happen. But when they're apart, we want to keep these thighs parallel. So start to bend the knees, send the hips back, and then feel the weight even into the feet. Good. Draw the tummy muscles in, and then see, can you take the arms up overhead? That's it. Think about lifting up a little bit at the chest, at the sternum, yes, and keep drawing the tummy muscles in. And then there's a softness in the shoulders. So even though the arms are up and the shoulders are definitely working to hold the arms up, we're trying not to bunch the shoulders, trying not to hold any tension there. And with your next in-breath, stand up nice and tall and release the arms back down. Good. So we'll take the right foot in front and the left foot behind for warrior one. And as you come into the pose, you bend that right knee and stack it over the heel. So you want knee, ankle, heel in line. And if you can see, I turn this way, you'll see a little bit better. The position of that back foot, it's at a very slight angle. If it turns out this way, it pulls in the knee, right? So you want to try and keep it pointing as far forward as you can in that back foot. And if it feels like you can't do that, you can shorten the distance between the legs to get that stance, okay? And then you're working with your pelvis, tailbone down, tummy muscles in, so we keep this lower spine neutral, and then the arms come up overhead. And the same idea with the arms in chair and the arms in Warrior One, Virabhadrasana. The shoulders, they have to work. The top of the back is working to bring the arms up, but we're trying to stop the shoulders from coming up around the ears. So that softness into the top of the back, into the shoulders. And if you want to lift your gaze, you can. It's a gentle lift of the chin, right? There's still length through the back of the neck. I'm not letting the head hang. And now, keep that front knee stacked over the heel. Just watch that it's not slipping back. So sometimes it starts to go back here. You want to keep it stacked. And press back into the back heel, get that back leg working. And then slowly the hands come down. The left foot comes forward and the right leg goes back. And once you get back into the pose, check your feet. So always start from the ground up as you look at where you are in the pose. Feet are in the right position, so the front foot pointing straight ahead, and this back foot turned as far in as comfortable. Left knee stacks over the ankle, over the heel. We're facing up towards the front edge of the mat. The tummy muscles draw in, tailbone lengthens down, and then the arms can come up. And then that softness through the top of the back, that sense of nearly like a sigh out, and the shoulders relax down a little bit. A gentle lift of the gaze if you want. So that lifting of the chin, lengthening of the front of the throat. That's it. Now the legs are working. So even though the front leg is the one that's bending, and sometimes our attention can really focus in the front leg, you want to press back into the back heel and really firm up the back thigh so both legs are working evenly. And then when you're ready to come out, the arms come down and that right foot comes forward. You can give the legs a little shake out. Good stuff. So let's turn to face the long edge of the mat. Take a big step out. And now we're coming into Warrior Two. So that was Warrior One. Warrior One is closed hip, right? So it's much more similar to what we do all day, every day, walking, running, sitting. It's in that same position. This is asking a little bit more of the hips, a little bit more of the body. We're opening up the front body. So you can turn your right toes out towards the top of the mat, and the left toes turn in just slightly. And then the arms come up to shoulder height. And when you're ready, on an out breath, bend your right knee and stack it, just like you did in Warrior One, over the ankle. So if you have a look down and see knee, ankle, heel, and just make sure that you've got that stacking of the knee. The back leg stays straight. So just like with Warrior One, you press into the sole of the left foot, press the knee back, try to work into the front of the thigh here and get the leg as straight as possible. And then can you draw the arms back a little bit? So imagine stretching all across the front body. Yes. And look out over the right hand. And we're going to see, can we keep those arms up? They might get tired, but we'll try. And straighten the right knee, turn the right toes in, turn the left toes out. And then you're bending your left knee. And again, looking for that line, knee, ankle, heel. All right, so we're not going too far, we're not going too little. Getting that perfect line. Work the back leg, press into the right foot, engage the right thigh, roll that right hip back, and then arms open back, look out over the left hand, slow in your breath. When you're ready to come up, it's an in breath. That left knee straightens. Now the arms can come down, turn the left toes in, and then you can bring the feet back in and give them a little shake out. Good. So we'll do one more wide leg standing pose. So the legs are going to be exactly the same as they were in Warrior 2, but we're going to move the torso into a side angle, okay? So step the feet out, turn the right toes to the short edge of the mat, check that the left toes are turned in just a little. It's a small inward turn of that back foot. Arms come up, and then that right knee bends. Stack it over the heel. And then from here, see, can you keep the legs exactly as they are? So the movement happens right in here at the hip crease. You come down into your side angle, right arm on the right thigh. Take the left arm tight to the ear, reach through the left fingertips. Look at the line all down along the left side body. Notice the hip wants to stick up. Can you send it down? And then reach through the top arm. And at the same time, you're still trying to press the little toe side of the left foot down into the mat. And now we'll come up with an in-breath. So you're lifting from your hips. So keep the legs exactly as they are. Lift up. That's it. Now straighten the right knee. Turn your right toes in, left toes out. And on an out breath, the left knee bends, stack it over the heel. Keep everything as it is and hinge at the hip to come down into your side angle. Lovely. That's it. And then think about that long line through the right side. So you're reaching out into the right fingertips. You're allowing this right hip to sink down a little, so it's not sticking out, right? We want to kind of sit into it a little. Press into the little toe side of the right foot. So really activate the outer edge of the foot. And that works your instep. You nearly feel the instep lifting. And then the legs will stay exactly as they are as you come up. It's an in-breath to come up. And then an out-breath to straighten the left leg, release the arms, release the feet, and step in. And give yourself a moment. Shake it out. That's so good. So we're going to take it into balance. Vrikshasana is your balance tree pose. You can hold on if you want to hold on, so onto the wall or the furniture, or you can work exactly where you are. Sometimes when you're on carpet or if your mat is spongy, it's harder to get balance in any of the balances. Even in the poses that we've done, sometimes it can be harder to get balance. So just knowing that helps when you're expecting it. So we're going to take the right foot up first. You can start with the left hand on the waist. And then you've options. So you can keep your toes on the floor if the balance is a little wobbly today, or you can go up to the calf muscle here. If you want to go higher, you're going to go above the knee and up as high along the inside of the leg as possible. So I bring the heel right up into the hip crease. So you're as high up as you can go. And you're really pressing the inside of that left leg and the sole of the right foot together to keep the foot from sliding down. And then see, can you bring your palms together in prayer? And you want to keep your gaze fixed onto a still point. So the floor or the wall, something that's not moving. And if you're steady here, you have the option to bring the arms up overhead. So you could sweep them up or you can go straight up. It doesn't matter. But knowing that adding the arms brings a whole new layer to the pose. So sometimes we might have to go back a step depending on how the balance is on any day. And when you're ready, bring the hands together, bring them back down, and bring that right foot to the floor. And then take a moment. So before you go into the second side, you want to anchor the feet, ground down into the mat. And then when you're ready, the left foot is coming up. It might be different on one side to the other. So see where you go. Toes on the floor, sole of the foot on the calf muscle, or go, my balance is wobbly today. Don't look at me. The heel goes right up to the top of the leg if you're going up there. And then you see, and you take the hands away. And from there, Could you bring them up overhead? And sometimes we need to keep them down. Just depends on the day. The gaze is fixed onto a still point. The inner leg and the sole of the foot work towards each other, and that standing foot is anchoring down, rooting into the mat. And when you're ready, the hands can come back down, and slowly that left foot comes to the floor. Give the legs a little shake out. Yeah. And then we're going to come down onto the floor. So you can make your way all the way down, and we're going to lie on the back and work on bridge pose. So bridge pose is your back bend. You're looking to get a straight line from your heel to your knee, pretty much, okay? So if the feet are in too close, it puts a lot of strain on the knee and it makes it harder to get into the pose. And equally so, if the feet are very far out in front, it also makes it hard to get the hips to come up, right? So somewhere in between where you've got that stacking knee over heel. And then the hands down by the sides, palms flat. There's a little tilt of the pelvis before you come up into your back bend here. And it helps to neutralize the lower back, helps to stop any pinching in the lower back. So if you can check it there, and there's normally like a natural arch underneath the lower back, the hands could slide in. We're trying to get rid of that. So you draw the tummy down towards the floor, draw the spine down, and as a result, there's a little tilt of the pelvis, like tailbone comes up between the legs, and you're trying to keep that. Hands down by the sides, palms grounding, and see, could you lift your hips, keep that little tilt of the pelvis, lift your spine, come up as high as you can, keep your head and your shoulders steady. And now once you're up, ground into the soles of the feet, all four corners of the feet anchored, and feel the work coming up through the legs. The glutes at the back of the hips are lifting you up into that pose, so they're actively working. And you're all the time keeping a gentle tone through the abdominals, like you're drawing your tummy muscles back towards your spine. The breath is slow. And to release, it's an out breath. You start from the top of the back and lower all the way down until the hips come to the floor. And then you can take the feet nice and wide apart and let your knees rest against one another. And give yourself a moment to soften through the lower back. Let go of that work, that effort.
Always see the dangers first.
We're going to do that one again. When you're ready, readjust the legs. Bring the feet about hip distance apart with the feet, a little bit of space. And then that straight line from the heel to the knee. The hands are down by the sides, palms facing down. Draw the tummy muscles and the spine down towards the floor. Get that little pelvic tilt where your tailbone scoops between the legs. And then from there, press into the soles of the feet, start to lift up hips, low back, middle back, upper back, just as far as you can, keeping your shoulders and your head down. The head stays nice and steady. And now imagine the strength of your legs. There's an energy between the thighs. So if you can remember back to chair pose, we're talking about keeping the thighs parallel. It's that same action in bridge pose. We're trying to keep the thighs parallel so they're not knocking in or knocking out. The hips are working to keep you in the pose. The lower back stays nice and long. And when you're ready to come down, it's an out breath from the top of the back all the way down until the hips come to the floor.
Always see the
And then once you come down, take your feet a little bit wider apart, let your knees rest against one another and give yourself a moment. So we always take something like this constructive rest or a windshield wiper in between the back bends to let your back body relax, because the back works, all the muscles in the back and the spine work really hard to get you up into the back bend. And it's not something that we do generally in our day-to-day life. So it's important to let the body rest after you've done a back bend. Breathe into the back body. When you're ready, we'll take one final back bend. So bring the feet back into hip distance. Get the heels below the knees, hands by the sides, draw the tummy muscles in, take your pelvic tilt. Peel up, low back, middle back, upper back. Keep the spine long as you do it, so lower back stays long. Ground into the feet. Bring the energy up into the legs, into the glutes. The thighs stay parallel. There's so much to think about. The head stays steady. So it's a deep stretch of the front body. You're stretching across your thighs, your hips, your abdomen, your chest, front of the shoulders. And you're engaging the back body, the back of the legs, hips, low back, length of the spine, in between the shoulder blades. Let's come down slowly from the top of the back all the way down to the hips. This time, as you come out of the pose, take your feet wider apart and let your knees windshield wiper from side to side. And as you move the legs, it just helps to neutralize the lower back, to reset the body, letting go of all of that work that you've been doing. When you're ready, you can bring the knees into the chest, wrap the hands around the legs, and just hug those knees in. So this is a forward fold, even though we're on our back and the knees are bent. It's the action at the hip there that makes it a forward fold, which is the direct opposite to what you were doing in your back bend. So you want to take your time, ease in. That's why we do a gentle version of a forward fold after back bending, something that's not too deep, so the back can start to release and think about going in the opposite direction. If it feels comfortable, you can rock from right to left, massage out the back. And then when you're ready, coming back into center. And whatever way you like to come to sit, you can roll onto your side and use your hands to help yourself up. Or if you prefer to rock up, just lift the head first so you've got your chin into your chest, and then rock forwards and up. And we'll get something to sit on, cushion or a blanket, pop it in underneath. And then take the legs straight out in front. Paschimottanasana is intense west stretch. The back body in India is the west side of the body, because traditionally you would practice facing the sun rising in the east. So the front of the body is seen as the east and the back of the body is seen as the west. So this fold is the stretching of the west side of your body, or your back body. The legs stay straight. There's a slight internal rotation in the legs. Toes point up. And then from there, you think about hinging right at the hip joint. So what you can do the forward fold with a rounding in the back, but most of us do so much rounding in the back, like all the time in the Western world, that we don't need any more rounding in the back. But what we want to do is try and move at the hip and hinge forward. And sometimes it's a little, some people can go all the way down. It doesn't matter how much movement you get. What you're looking for is to stretch through the back of the leg, across the back of the hip, and wherever you get to is perfect. So hands can stay on the floor. Tilt the pelvis. Keep that nice neutral spine. Don't worry about trying to get the hands to the feet or anything like that. And see, where is that stopping point? And then perfect, hold it there. Let the hands rest, let your shoulders relax. Think about broadening across the chest, across the collarbones. If you can visualize that line from the crown of the head, through the neck, down through the spine to the tailbone, you want a nice long line from the crown of the head to the tailbone. So imagine bringing your chest forward and your shoulders back a little bit more. Yeah, there you go. And the breath is nice and slow and soft, and there's a releasing in the jaw and the mouth, letting go of any tension there. As you come back up, it's an in-breath, lifting up slowly. And then we're going to take the right foot and bring it up to the inner left leg. Good stuff. And now the left leg is active, heel down, toes up. And it's the same as when the two legs are straight. There's this slight internal rotation. It's like the inner thigh and the sole of the foot are coming towards each other. In fact, it's nearly the same action as when we were standing up in tree pose, right? Except not as challenging when you're sitting down. And we want to keep that same movement at the hip that we had when the two legs were straight. So you can have your hands on the floor, get the spine nice and tall, and think about chest forward, shoulders back. And this could be as far as you're going. You can stay here. If there's any movement in the hip, tip it forward. And then if you want to bring the hands a step out in front, but be mindful. Sometimes if we bring the hands out in front, it causes us to sort of pull in the shoulders and the arms. And you really want to be soft and relaxed here. Stretch open the chest. Think about that sense of space that you're creating in the front body. And a nice stretch over the back of the left leg, across the back of the hip, maybe into the lower back. Good. Come up with an in-breath. Start to lift back up. And then you're going to switch sides. So the right leg comes out in front and the left leg goes up. Sole of the left foot against the inner right leg. Get the right leg active, heel down, toes up, a slight internal rotation, like you're rolling the inner thigh towards the sole of the left foot. Spine tall, and think chest forward, shoulders back, that opening across the collarbones, then the hinge at the hip. And just tilt and see what happens. One side can feel different to the other. That's normal. And then if you want to bring the hands out in front, just keep the elbows soft. Keep that kind of relaxed feel into the arms. So there's no huge effort there. And once you're in the pose, breathe down into the muscles, breathe into the tissues. Think about releasing any holding, any resistance in your body. So let's come up with the in-breath, walk the hands back in, lift up through the chest. And now we'll take 2 feet together. So both knees are bent, Baddha Konasana, cobbler's pose. So the stretch now comes into the inner leg, the inner hip, and then when we tilt forward over the lower back and the back of the hips. But we've taken it out of the back of the legs. So once you bend the knee, the back of the leg is taken out of the pose. So we want to get the lift, and you can hold wherever the hands reach with a nice tall spine. So it might be around the shins, the ankles, the feet, wherever they come to is perfect. And then you can stay here, or if there's some movement at the hip, tip forward. And then the other thing that you can do is use the elbow. If it's bent and it's resting against the leg, gentle press of the elbow or the arm into the leg, and it'll give you a little extra stretch in the inner leg. We're not forcing, we're not trying to, make the body go anywhere it doesn't want to go. It's the arm acts like an added weight, like a little bit of extra weight in the pose to help to get a deeper stretch. And then when you're in the pose, you're trying to soften the face, the jaw, the mouth. The shoulders down over the arms. So think about that line from tailbone to crown of head. So the chest forward, the shoulders back. That sense of opening. So sometimes when you work to get that shape, you'll feel the muscles in the back working a little bit more, which is a good thing. We're strengthening up the back and we're stretching open the front body. And then slowly come back up. And draw the legs in and out in front. So it's our natural habitual pattern for the back to round in a forward fold, for the chest to sort of close in, because most of the day that's what we're doing. Like whatever we do, if you think about anything that you do at home, working in the house, sitting at a computer, driving the car, like we tend to close in here and round. So that's what happens when we start to go into any of the poses. So this action is reversing all of the day-to-day tightening. We all have it. Like, I'm pretty sure there's nobody who doesn't have those patterns going on. And we're just trying to unravel a little bit. It's not like sometimes then you can start going extreme in the other direction, but we're just trying to release some of the tightness that's held in the body. So let's take a twist. The left leg can be out in front and the right knee is bent and the sole of that right foot is on the floor. And then hold the right knee with the left hand and bring your right hand in close to you. So there is the tendency to want to lean back, but see, can you bring it in towards you? And again, that gets you to sit up tall, to open up into the chest. And now turn to the right, rotate your chest. Turn your gaze to look over the right shoulder. And you can use the left hand against the leg to help you. So left hand holding the right knee to help you to twist that little bit further. And with the release, it's an in-breath coming all the way back round. Stretch out the right leg, and we'll do the exact same on the left. Bend the left knee, hold the left knee with the right hand, and then your left hand is in close by your hip. So you can be on your fingertips or your palm, whichever naturally happens. It depends on the proportion, so it depends on the length of your arms versus your torso. The spine is nice and tall. And then you're twisting to the left, gazing back over that left shoulder, breathing in the twist. And the breath stays nice and calm and quiet. As you breathe in, slowly release back round. And then you can stretch that left leg out in front and give them a little shake out. Good stuff. So let's take one final pose before relaxation. So we'll take the legs in the air. You can have your cushion or your blanket handy. Come down like you did when you were in bridge pose. Bend the knees, plant the feet to the floor. Lift your hips up just enough to slide your cushion or your blanket in under your hips, and then place them back down. So you've got that support under your hips. Hands down by the sides. Take your feet from the floor and then extend the legs straight up into the air. So you might find you need to keep the knees a little bit bent. Depends on how it feels in the back of the legs. And you're giving yourself an inversion without having to lift the hips. So you got the legs in the air. Sometimes when the legs are up, you might start to feel a little tingling sensation or that movement as the fluids start to pump back up the legs. That's completely normal. There's a little bit of a challenge on the core when the legs are up like this. But over the next few weeks, we'll work up into shoulder stand. And so less work in the core. So let's just take one more breath. And when you're ready to release, the knees can bend, the feet come back down, and then lift the hips, slide your blanket or your cushion out from under you. And you can bring the knees into the chest. Take a little rock from side to side. And when you're ready, the hands can come onto the knees and make a few big circles, rolling out the lower back. And go back the opposite way. Come right back into center. Release the feet. And you can start to get ready for your relaxation. So if you want to put on any extra layers or use blankets, cushion, pillows, anything like that, do. In Shavasana, relaxation, traditionally we lie on the back. Right? We stretch back on the back. It translates as corpse pose, and it really is like the stillness, the quietness of the corpse that's where it gets the name. But sometimes lying on the back isn't comfortable, and ultimately Shavasana should be about switching off and resting. So if you want to keep your knees bent or you want to roll onto your side, then that takes priority over the traditional shape of the pose. Let the eyes close down and give yourself this time to come to stillness, to let go of all of the doing, all of the effort from the physical practice. And so we always take a few moments at the end of the practice to come back to stillness, to tune in and experience the body, experience yourself in this moment. Notice how you feel. Notice your body sinking down. And with each out breath, give yourself the permission to let go a little bit more, to sink down a little bit more. And there's that softness that washes over your body, soothing from the top of your head, the soles of your feet. Visualize yourself letting go of any tension in your forehead, the forehead easing out. And that letting go sensation moving down over the face, down into the jaw, the mouth, lips. There's that softness in the face as you surrender, softness in the jaw and the mouth. Letting go into your shoulders, breathing out any tension that you might hold in your shoulders now. As your shoulders release, it has a rippling effect right down over your body. You feel your whole body surrendering along the length of your spine and outwards through the upper body, along the length of the arms and out to the fingertips. From the hips right down through the legs to the feet. Whole body letting go. Whole body surrendering down. Notice how your breath quietens a little more. There's a feeling of calmness surrounding you now, inside and out. Go deep into that calmness. Your mind has wandered off. Slowly come back. Come back to your body, the place where you lie. The feeling of your body against the earth. Gently let your breath deepen. Start to breathe down into the belly. A slow, calming breath. And when you feel ready, bring a little movement into your fingers and your toes. Take a nice long stretch out through the arms and the legs. And then soften back down and let go one more time. Let your whole body release. And only when you feel ready, the knees come in towards you. The eyes slowly open. And you can make your way onto your side. And then all the way back up to sit. And bring the palms together in Anjali Mudra. And take a moment to acknowledge one another.